Hi everyone. So today I'm going to take you on a tour of the space that I use to do all of my creating. So I have all my art supplies integrated in with the main living area in my house. And this is where I do all of my card making, all of my watercoloring, all of my Copic art, digital art, editing, and pencil sketching. So I am going to show you the three main areas that I have set up with all of these different stations, and I'm going to show you all of the different supplies that I have and the different organization and storing methods that I use to store everything. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump right in, and I'm going to switch over to the live tour. All right, so let's begin. So first, this is the area where I work. So this is a part of my dining room and kitchen. So I work on this island, sitting at this chair, and then I look out side on my patio where lots of little birds come and visit me if I leave them birdseed. And that's how I like to work. And now let's kind of move over to one of my three areas where I store my supplies, and let's check out what I have. So first of all, so the set that I'm using, this is a closet unit that I purchased from Pottery Barn, and I actually designed the layout of it. You can do the same if you wanted to have this type of cabinetry in your home. So because I do have my craft area, it's not really a craft room, it's more like a craft house, and it's integrated with my main living space, I needed something that would look nice and finished and polished that would match or just, you know, look nice with my other furniture. So that's why I went for these Pottery Barn cabinets. Okay, so to start, I have some wicker baskets here. Most of those are empty because I did do my cleaning. I have my die cutting machine. It's the Spellbinder Platinum Plus. Here I have some of my watercoloring tool. So let's take a look. So I have this bin here, and this is just a bin that I purchased from Michael's. I prefer to have these kind of like cardboard boxes around as opposed to plastic storage because, again, it is in my main work area. So it makes it a little bit difficult because you can't see what's inside, but it's still, I think it gives a nice, more finished look. So in here I have some extra paintbrushes and then all of my different paints. So they're all pretty much loose in here, or some of them are in bags. I've got to sort through these, but these are all the colors that I have, all the colors in my palette, and then some. Okay, and then moving up, this is the next little cubby hole. And in here, I have my paintbrushes and my palettes. So, and I have a little ceramic palette that I use. And these are my like squirrel hair and sable paintbrushes. These are the more high quality brushes that I have. And then I have these brushes that are some synthetic brushes, but I also really love them. It depends on what kind of work I'm doing. Sometimes I actually, or a lot of the time I actually prefer the synthetic brushes to the sable brushes just because I find that they have a more firm application that I'm more comfortable with sometimes, or most of the time. So this is one of my palettes. This is like my palette that has all my extra colors in it. This is my main palette. These are all the main colors that I use, and I've written down the names of them and just applied some plastic sheeting over it so that they don't get wet and smeared. Now in this little bin, I have some extra little mini palettes. And then in the very back, some more little paintbrushes and stuff, and palettes and stuff like that. So this is kind of my watercolor spot. Now moving up, I have my cardstock and my Zig Clean Color Real Brush markers. And I've just kind of arranged them kind of like my manufacturer. These are mostly Lawn Fawn papers here. These are mostly my neutrals. I have some MFT over here. And then up here, I have some more colored cardstock. And then I have my acrylic blocks. Let me show you. So I have all my acrylic blocks in 2 little baskets like this. This is the first basket. This is the second basket. So this one has my smaller blocks and the other has my larger blocks. Now moving along, I have my Prismacolor pencils. I have my Chameleon markers. I have my Karen markers. And I'm just going to show you what the Chameleon markers look like. Okay, so here are the Chameleon markers. Let me back up so you can get a good look at them. So I bought these a couple of years ago. I thought that it might be a good alternative to Copics because the whole point of these markers is that you take one color and you can blend it out into like 3 or 4 different shades. So I guess there's like alcohol ink blender included with the markers, and you can get different shades. So they're supposed to be more cost effective. I found that it's pretty much, it's not worth it. I'm actually looking to get rid of these. I'll probably send them back to my little niece and nephew to play with as toys. Like, I would not recommend these to any artist. Okay, so next, these are the Karen brush markers that I have, and these are a water-based marker, and I actually really love these. These work really, really well. And this is the set that I purchased. And then I also have my Prismacolor colored pencils. I have my very thin pencils, which I haven't used yet. And then I have my master set of all of the different colors. I'm not going to take them out, but I do like to add detail like over my watercoloring and over my Copic marker, so that's where they come in handy. And then while we're talking about colored pencils, I'll show you the other colored pencils that I have. So I have these watercolor colored pencils by Karen Dash, I think that's how you say it. And then I have my another set of Karen Dash colored pencils here, my Polychromos colored pencils here, and then these I think are my favorite of all my colored pencils. These are the Karen Dash Luminance Pencils, I think you said. So I'll show you these. Okay, so these are super fancy colored pencils. I think they're a mixture of wax and oil, so they work a little bit differently than the Polychromos, which are oil-based, or the Prismacolor, which are wax-based. They give you really, really good light fastness for the most part, and there aren't that many colors, which I also really like because I find that I can get just really confused and overwhelmed if I have too many colors to work with. So these are the 76 colors that you get. You have this palette. You have this palette. And this one. This is a great set for skin tones. Lots of great colors for skin tones and natural, like neutral colors as well. Let me just put this back. Okay, so I've put them back, and now let's move on to the other things on this little shelf. One of the things that I love about these Pottery Barn cabinets is that you can put your shelves wherever you like. So if you want to have an open space, you can. If you want like a few little areas like I have here with like really tight space, you can do that as well, just to get the most out of your storage. So this is where I keep all of my black inks. So I have my VersaFine ink, my Memento black ink, and then I have my refillers here for my Memento black ink and my Versamark ink as well. And then I have some white pigment ink here. I have my distress ink, my antique linen distress ink that I use if I'm stamping and I'm going to be watercoloring the image. So that's everything on this shelf. Now moving up, I have my Hero Arts watercolors here that I haven't really used. I'm more of a collector than a user. And then I have some of my re-inkers for some of my favorite lawn fawn inks. Like I have my jellyfish here somewhere. I have my reds and greens for Christmas, some glow-in-the-dark embossing powder. And then back in here, if you can see, I have like all different glazes. Like I have my Nouveau Flakes back there. I have texture paste. I have my glimmer paste, so all that is back here. Diamond dust, etc. Now, here, this is where I store all my little ink cubes, and that one's empty. So, like this is just a random one, but for the most part, I try to keep them in order. So I have 6 trays for the distress inks, or 4 trays. I think there's 60 colors for them, and I have them all in order. Then I also have my dye inks as well, like that. And yeah, so that's kind of how I store all of my inks. And I have some empty storage, so I have room to grow. Moving up to the next shelf, this is where I keep a lot of my different papers. So I have some Yupo translucent paper for alcohol ink coloring. I think you could also use it for watercoloring. I have my Bristol smooth cardstock, these 2 yellows here. I have some black watercolor paper that I haven't tried yet. And then I have some Stonehenge colored pencil paper. Moving on, let's see, now I'm on my tippy toes so I can see in here. I have a couple of Arches blocks here for watercoloring, so I think some of them I even have some artwork in them. So this is my Arches watercolor block. This is a square 7.9 inch by 7.9 inch. And I have one of my little paintings in here. And then when it comes time when I want to make another drawing, all I'll do is I will take a palette knife and just run it along there, and then this painting will come off. Actually, I'll show you how that works. So this is how it works. You just take your palette knife, I'm trying to do this one-handed, and you just run it across. Whoops. All 4 sides, right underneath there. And it becomes detached. Okay. And then it's detached. And then you can move on to your next drawing. And the great thing about this is that you don't have to tape down your watercolor paper because it's already attached to the block. So, okay, so moving back to the shelf where I was showing my different papers, I also have my expressive blending cards. So I have a bunch of reams here and some loose papers as well. This is what I use for all my Copic coloring. And I bought a lot of it over quarantine just because it was difficult to get for a while and I was worried about a shortage. So I actually overbought on my Arches cold press water color paper and then also on the expressive blending card. All right, moving up to the final shelf. This is actually above my head. So I have some different sketchbooks here and drawing pads. And then moving across, I have some more of that Arches paper. And these are just all like pretty large blocks I have. And then I also have some paper pads as well. So, okay, now let's kind of move across. So this is moving to the second cabinet. So I have a card that I bought in an auction from Sandy Allnock, who is one of my artistic heroes. Then I have a card that my mom made me for my birthday a couple of years ago. And then I have a wooden basket that has nothing in it. And then I have some acrylic watercolor products up there. Don't really use that much. Moving down. Over here, I have my little sponge daubers. Let's see. My mini daubers there. And then I have some extra envelopes in here. I have my color wheel that I take out from time to time. Then I have some MFT dies in there. Moving down, this is where I have my distress inks and my distress oxide inks. And then I have my stash of isopropyl alcohol that I got pre-quarantine. Okay, so in this little box, I have some colored pencil materials. So I have like my Gamsol, with little containers where I could put my Gamsol, little blending stumps, pencil sharpeners. And then in this box, I have all of my embossing items that I use most frequently. So I have my coffee filters, my anti-static powder tool, Versamark, and then the different embossing powders that I use most frequently. Mostly I use the Lawn Fawn for the most part. Okay, now moving on here, this is how I store my Distress Oxide ink. So I don't have all of them, maybe I have about 55 or so, and I just put them all in here and take them out as I need them. Underneath are my Distress inks and daubers. And then these two little books are not actually books, they look like books, but they're boxes and they have extra daubers and extra foam pads. Down here, this is where I keep my heat gun and an extension cord that I use when I set up my craft space. And then I have all my dye inks in this box. In here, I have all my little hole punchers. So I have some hexagon hole punches and some circle hole punches. And this little guy, I have my wooden blocks. I was actually going to Marie Kondo those and throw them away, but then I decided since I had some room, I could keep them. Okay, so moving on, I have my Nina cardstock here and some extra supplies. I have my metallic watercolors there. I have my a watercolor palette. I think that was the first one I ever bought there. And then I have some more Nina Solar White cardstock there. So lots of cardstock. This is where I have all my sketchbooks, or many of my sketchbooks. This is probably my favorite sketchbook here. It's Hana, I can't say the name, I'll maybe put it in the description box. And it's a pretty new sketchbook, so I only have a few drawings here. Well, they're all watercolor paintings. Okay, so moving on, here I have my waffle flower craft mat. I have some tonic craft mats, and then I have a spare new tonic craft mat. That's my favorite surface to work on. Okay, so this is the meat of my area. So this is the shelf that I reach for the most. So it has all of my Copics and my dirty stamp chamois. Let me take them out of the way so you're not distracted by how yucky they look. And this is how I store little elephant that I got when I was in India. Anyway, sorry, got distracted. This is how I store my Copics. So I store them in these little bins that I got from the Container Store. I don't even think they make them anymore, but let me show you. Okay, so I just pulled them out so you can see them. So whenever I want to use them, I just kind of pull out the whole container and I set them next to me and I just reach in for what I need. They're sectioned off into 8 quarters. I have my reds, my pinks, my purples, blues, greens, blue-greens, grays, and then I have my earth tones here and then some spare different pens and multi-liners. And I just always bring these 2 containers over to my work area when I want to use my Copics. So this is where I store my little watercolor cups. I just put my water there. I have my drawing pencils. These are probably one of my favorite products of all. So these are graphite pencils in all different thicknesses or softness and hardness of lead, and you can just make really, really great pencil drawings when you have the right pencil. So this is like my go-to set. And then I also have this set, which is the same pencils, just fewer. This is like my little to-go set. And this is what it looks like inside. So I have my pencils. There's me, hi. And then I have my eraser fillers, and then I absolutely adore this eraser. It's just great. You can get into really, really small areas. So I use these pencils a lot to draw my watercolor sketches, and then I'll paint them with my watercolors. So here I have my erasers, including a kneaded eraser. That's my pencil sharpener for my drawing pencils. This is my little caddy. So this is what I use, what I always have next to me when I am working on my cards. So I have my little pink scissors that you see in all my videos. I've had them for years. I have my reverse tweezers. Again, I think you've seen me use them. My anti-static powder tool. I've had this for 3 years, never replaced it. Some stray pencils, my big scissors, my Spellbinders tool. This is really important to me. These are my pliers. This is what I use to clip apart dies. It's an old jewelry wire clipper. So once upon a time it was really good quality, and they're just nice and sturdy, and I really like them. I have my glossy accents, my liquid stardust from Lawn Fawn, my lacquer pens, erasers. I have my little paintbrushes that I use to kind of brush away embossing powder when I'm heat embossing, some pencils, some gold and silver accent pens. I have this tool, which I use often for die cuts. If you have a little spot that just won't come out, like a hanging chad, whatever the equivalent is for die cuts, you can use this to kind of stab it out. And then I like this little part too when I'm doing detail work. What else do I have in here? I could probably do a whole video just on my main tools that I work with. This is a big paintbrush that I have, and I use this to like brush off embossing powder when I'm heat embossing. And that's it. So behind the carousel, I have some other tools that I reach for frequently. I have my distress spray bottles, I have my art glitter glue that I use for everything, a new glue from Honeybee with a little stand, my Gamsol, my glossy accents, and then I have some extra magnets here, some paper clips, and then another set of Copic markers. These are the square markers, the ones that don't have the brush tip. I bought them on accident a couple of years ago, but I just keep them here in case I ever need them. This is another area that I frequently go to. This is at waist height, so it's like the perfect height for storing items that you're going to use over and over. This, I have some envelopes. I have my stamps here. So this is my little mailing station. I have, I don't know, a little stencil, I guess. And then I have some taller slimline envelopes. Some embossing pads as well for Spellbinder Platinum Plus. Now here I have some spare pens. So I have the Signo Uniball pens that I use. I have these black Pilot pens that I use whenever I write out cards. I have some blenders for my coloring pencils. I have my creative corners for my Misty, some more binder clips. There I have Q-tips and cotton balls. Use that to clean off my markers with some alcohol. And then some more cotton balls, stamp chamois, and a little sketchbook back there. And then I have some white colored pencils as well. These I use pretty frequently, and I find that I like these are Prismacolor white colored pencils, so even if I'm using polychromos, I'll always use these white pencils. In this section, these are the dies that I reach for the most frequently. This is the only plastic item that I'll allow in my area, but I think it looks pretty inconspicuous. So these are, for the most part, you know, dies for card panels. So this wonky stitch die I use pretty often, and it's mostly Lawn Fawn and MFT stamps that I have there. Moving on to this section, this is where I store the items that I actually work with. So this is my mat that I use when I'm ready to craft. I'll just move this over to the workspace that I showed you before. I will tape it down. I'll use these little mats as well on the sides just to protect my counters. This is my score pal. That's a leftover from a sequin incident earlier today. Just put that aside. My score pal, I have my big score pal, which comes in handy if you don't like doing math like me and you have to score like an area that's more than 6 inches, because the little score buddy, which I use all the time, has limits. If you're not good at math like me, I have my paper trimmer. Just use a real basic Fiskars trimmer there. It's good enough. And then these are empty. These are remnants of my sorting from earlier. Here I have some more Arches watercolor blocks. Just again, I bought a whole bunch because I was afraid of a shortage. These are my Misties. I have 2 little Misties and 2 big Misties, including, which I just bought earlier this week, the new Misty. So I haven't used it yet, but hopefully this weekend. All right, so now it's time for the fun part. This is where we get into the drawers. So let's look at this first drawer. This is where I keep my tapes. So I have my like 1/8 of an inch tape, my 1/4 of an inch tape, I have a roll of foam tape here that I use a lot. I have a spare roll as well. I have some adhesives, although the adhesive I really use is that art glitter glue. I have my little blades for my paper trimmer. I have Zots and foam squares galore. So that's pretty much what this drawer is, all like tapes and adhesives. Moving down, this is the embellishment drawer, or one of the embellishment drawers. So first I have my little bin of washi tapes. So really excited to organize all of these. So I use these for my watercoloring. I use them to close envelopes and you know, just for pretty decoration sometimes on cards. This is my bin that I have a whole bunch of sequins in. Yeah, I'm not gonna go through them. I did notice that clear sequins tended to fade and yellow, so I had to throw a lot of things out when I did my purge. Here are the sequins for Halloween that I just have loose because I figure I'll be using pretty often. I have these Post-its for masking tape, although I have masking paper I use. I don't know why I have that. I have some brads, which are good for, I think, the Lawn Fawn reveal wheel die. You need that. I have a bunch of containers of the white puff embossing powder and some extra lacquer pens. I have these really handy because with the fall and winter season coming, I'll be using lots of white puffy embossing in my designs. It's good for froth on coffee or hot cocoa. It's also good for snow. So if I ever want to make pins, I have these little pin backers. So I'll give you some ideas when we get through some of the products I have for how to use your dies and your stamps to make pins. Yeah, then I just have some little doodlebug stickers here for Halloween and for fall. So I'm just making sure all that is nice and handy. And then back here in this little bin that I'm not going to take out, I have all my extra embossing powder. So like rose gold embossing powder, pink embossing powders. I don't use that often. In the next drawer, this is my, I guess, art drawer. I have a bunch of pens, micron pens for sketching and for doing original drawings. I have my erasers. I have some palette knives, just all kinds of pens and erasers and some pencils as well in this area here. And then I have a protractor if I want to do mandalas. That's not a protractor. I forgot what that's called, but that's like the tool that you use to make mandalas. I have my rulers here as well, some extra Copic markers. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I also have this two-toe pen that I haven't figured out how to use yet. Moving down, this one's pretty empty, so this is room to grow. So I just have some stray things here, including some more embossing powders, a brush. Here I have just random stuff. So I have some jewelry supplies here. So I used to do a lot of jewelry making. So I have like my little silver and gold plated fixtures or findings. I have 2 Hero Arts kits here, as ones that I think I'll probably use again, so I kept them. And then another jewelry drawer, some more findings, more silver and gold wire. Moving on. Just extra construction paper. Again, random stuff. So I have some stuff for a scan and cut. I have some beads for like decorating backgrounds if I want to show cards. This is another random draw. So I have some Valentine's Day like stickers and pattern paper. And then I have my MFT stamps kits here. So a bunch of Christmas stamps. And then a beading mat. Here I have my specialty card stocks and my blending brushes. So I go in this drawer a lot. So these are just some cheap brushes for the most part I bought on Amazon. But these are those tailored expressions blending brushes I use a lot. Different glitter papers, tonic. I think there's some Lawn Fawn in there. I have some flocking paper that I found, some foils that I found when I cleaned up, don't know how to use them. And then just like random glittery paper here and a ruler. Moving up, oh my gosh, this is prime real estate. This is like the second drawer down and there's nothing in there. It's good to know. And then in the top drawer, I have my Nuvo drops that survived. So I did test all my Nuvo drops before I put them back in here. And these are the ones that survived for the most part. The metallics did not do so well. Green didn't do so well. Red, for some reason, didn't do so well. These, I have a whole bunch of like little doodlebug stickers in here for Christmas. I have some little jelly clips, some little buttons. This is like my second childhood drawer, really, where I just have all the cute little stuffs. So more jelly clips. I have some little tassels, some more stickers, some rhinestones, buttons. This is my little twine bin, so all kinds of twine, and then some little candy cane paper clips. So yep, that's this drawer. So that is almost it. We just have a couple more bins here. So this is kind of a junk bin. This is where I keep all of my Copic Expressive blending card scraps, and I do reuse these because it's an expensive paper, so I try to save my scraps and use them when I can. And then just scraps of cardstock in there. Then my spare roll of foam tape. And then I have some felt in here and some needlepoint thread. And then some palettes. Oh, a little drawing from my nephew Joseph. So I like to put these all around my space so that I kind of come across them and I'm surprised, and then I think of them and I'm happy. So I have extra little paint wells for my watercolors and just lots of palettes. And then the rest is empty. And then in this corner, here's my die cutting machine, the Platinum Plus, the extra large. And then I have my light box that I use when I want to trace art. And then I have some spare paper packs, and I think I have my Tonic glass mat here. I have the one for left-handed people, the big one and the small one. I don't use them that often. I'll try to use them for filming sometimes, but for the most part, I just use my plastic mats. And that is it. Okay, so that's my main area. So let's kind of move on over and take a look at some other spots. So I have this advent calendar that I made a couple of years ago. I keep it up all year round because it makes me happy. I just have a temporary sewing machine station set up here. That's my sewing machine. And I was making masks at the beginning of the pandemic, but I've got to pack all that up and put it away. This is my desk area. So this is where I keep the projects that I'm working on now, or like any new products, so I know to use them, so I keep them. Things have to be in my site so I remember that I have them, and then I'll use them. So the last thing I got was this, some products from MFT's release I'm still playing with. Have some tissues. I have some spare storage, yay. I have my iPads here. So this is the iPad that I'll do my Procreate drawings with. It's the larger iPad, and then this is the iPad I'll do video editing on and everything else really. This is my computer station. So this is my iMac Pro. I have the trackpad, and then I also have a mouse. I kind of double fist it when I'm working. So I use my left hand on the trackpad, my right hand on the mouse, so I can get through editing quickly. I have my little cubby hole here. So I love chapsticks. I have my little chapstick collection, cotton candy, candy cane, chocolate, love them. I have some little journals here, including this nice journal, hand cream, pens, reading glasses. Okay, so this is the area behind my desk. So I had to actually step out of the area just to get you a full view of it. So let's start at the top of the cabinet. So I have some Tonic papers here, all my specialty cardstocks from Tonic and these two. I have all of my pattern papers in these 3 bins. Need to go through it again, see if I could declutter more. And then this is where I have all of my stamps for the most part. I have some more sketchbooks, including some Copic sketchbooks and some watercolor sketchbooks, another Arches cold press block. This is a big one, so if I want to do a big painting, I have the paper. This is where I keep all of my Simon Says stamps, stamps that made the cut when I did my decluttering. In here, I have all of my Sketchbox products. So every month I get a Sketchbox and I just put all the products in there as I use them. Here I have some more stamps. So I decided to throw away many of my stamps, and the only stamps that I kept, pretty much everything, was Lawn Fawn and MFT stamps. And then I decided that for the others, I was just going to keep what I really love. So I have a bunch of Clearly Besotted in here that I kept, a few Sunny Studios that I kept. These are my Gerda Steiner designs. I kept all of these. I love her. I love her little characters, and I go to them season after season. I did save almost all of my Gina K stamps and all my Greeting Farm stamps. So those are some other manufacturers that I kept. And then moving down, so this is at my waist height. These are the stamps that I reach for the most. So these are my MFT stamps, my Lawn Fawn stamps, and then some more Lawn Fawn. And I kind of organize them so I have all my reveal wheel and all my before and afters up front. And then I have my food themed stamps behind that. And then I have all my little stamps all in the back here, which I'll have to move eventually, but these are all those tiny little stamp sets. So I thought if I put them all in the same place, it'd be easier to find. Then I have my interactive stamps here and like my boxes, my little critter stamps. Yeah, all my interactive stuff, my shadow box stuff, summer, all my summer lawn fawn stamps, and then just miscellaneous towards the back. And then this is where I keep all my Halloween and Christmas themed lawn fawn stamps, so they're in one place, easy to find. And then these are all my Birdie Brown stamps. So I think before I said my MFT stamps, that was wrong. These are all just Birdie Brown, and MFT is over in that other area I showed you. Reaching down into here, so this is a fun one, so I'll show you what's in here. So these are all of my little shaker pieces and candy box pieces for my MFT dies. So now I'll never have to wonder where the pieces are. I have them all in one spot, and I have replenishment candy bags as well. So MFT has great like shaker card dies and great candy bag dies. So now I have all my little disposable pieces, so when I want to make more cards, I can. This box has the Christmas release from Concord and 9th last year. I bought the whole release and I didn't get to use it, and I am gonna try to use it this year, so I just put that all off on its same spot. These are my Concord and 9th stamps. I have a few stamps from the ton, my embossing folders, some large 6x6 stamps. I threw many of these out, but I kept some. And then I only kept one Tonic Craft Kit, the one that makes a butterfly card. These are all my miscellaneous stamps. So Pretty Pink Pie, Sugar Pea, Picket Fence Studio, Inky Antics. So anything that's kind of a one-off that sparked joy when I looked at it, I kept and put them all in this box. This is my Hero Arts bin. So up front I have all my picture window stamps and clink stamps. And then I have a few stamp sets that I just saved, and then some kits and stuff behind. I threw out most of my kits, or I put them in storage, so only kept a few. Moving down, these are my waffle flower stamps. I kept most of my waffle flower. And then here are all my Spellbinders kits. So I stopped ordering Spellbinder kits a few months ago, but I did keep the ones that I bought. And then of course I had to keep this Ocean Minded card kit by Gina K. So on top of the cabinet, I'm so happy that it's clear for the most part. This was filled with stamps before. So in this box, I keep my watercolor drawings. So I'm gonna add this little drawing that we saw a moment ago. And I'll probably frame some of these, but this is just kind of where I keep everything, whether it's a really good piece or a practice piece. I just put them all in this box here. These are cards that I've recently made that I haven't given away yet. So lots of MFT cards, honeybee stamped card here. And I will keep adding to this box and then taking from it as I give cards away. So here I have all of my little enamel pins from Lawn Fawn and Simon Says Stamp. And then these are all my honeybee products. So I have them all here. And then in this box, I have just all my large dies in here. So anything that doesn't fit in a 5x7 pack, I just put on these Lawn Fawn magnetic sheets and then add it into this box. And this is the final area we'll look at. So here I have my Mama Elephant dies, and then I also have all my stencils here, and then I have my like Lawn Fawn textured backdrops here. I keep them here instead of with my Lawn Fawn things because I have them all individual, and
you could hurt your hands if you reach too much into this box. So because I reach into the other boxes often, I didn't want to put them there. This box I reach into less frequently, so I figured I'd put them right here and up front. And this is just historically how I've stored them, so I always know to go here. Here's my little Pusheen holder. I have some alcohol pads here. Clean my markers, clean my glasses, clean my devices. Some pattern papers. These are ones that I use often. Halloween. And then I have my little scratch and stiff stickers. So I have chocolate, pizza, honey, banana, peanut butter, coffee, pumpkin pie, more coffee. The little scented stickers are great for cards for kids, especially the holidays. In here I have my masking paper. So I use masking paper by Simon Says Stamp. It comes in a pack that looks like this. Each pack has 25 sheets. I use it pretty often, so I have a lot of them. So I probably have 3 or 4 packs. Then I have my acetate. My acetate's kind of old. So the backing paper is yellowing, but the acetate itself is still good. I have some Stick It. Don't use that often. Some black cardstock. Here I have some slimline dies that I haven't figured out where to put yet. So some Lawn Fawn slimline dies. And then I have this slimline envelope die by Trinity Stamps, which I'm so excited about. I have my Daniel Smith watercolor card, so if I want to experiment with colors or try out a color that I don't already have a tube for, I'll use these little color sheets. This is where I have my magnetic sheets, and then my storage folders, my plastic storage folders. I have some vellum here, including some pearlescent vellum from Lawn Fawn. Thick vellum, thin vellum, all vellum is here. I have my Misty extra sheets here, and then just some gold foil cardstock down there. And then in here I have all my Copic Refills. So those are all the boxes of Copic Refills that I have. I have spare rolls of adhesive. I also have in this box, I bought about a year ago a whole bunch of replacement super brush tips. They were on sale at Michael's. And I maybe bought like 100 packs just so that I could replace the tips on all my markers if I wanted to. So yeah, so I have them. So as my tips wear out, I just replace them with those. Let's see what else. Down there is my Chibitronics light stuff for cards. I don't know how else to say it. So I have this little Lawn Fawn kit. And then I have like all the rest of my stuff. So colored lights, white lights, copper tape, everything I need for light up cards. And I have this little mini Spellbinders die cutting machine that I don't use that much. And that's it.
Thanks so much for joining me today, everyone. I really hope that you enjoyed this tour. I certainly loved taking you on this tour, and I hope that this video gave you lots of great ideas for how to store and organize your own art supplies. Please feel free to drop me a question in the comment area below if you have any questions about anything that I showed in the video or anything at all with respect to any of the art supplies that I showed here. Okay, thanks so much. I will see you again soon in another video.